table. Okay, so we need to fill out the class. So step number one, I'm going to use that. So if you're not here, you was absent, you got confused, take out your notes. Have that paper, jot it down. It's much easier. And like, I do this, I forgot the step. Here's my note. Go back and look at it. That's impossible for you to remember everything, right? Okay, so step number one, I'm going to identify my maximum and minimum. I'm going to clear the screen, so I'm going to identify the max and the minimum because I want to find the class width. So step number one, find class width. Max minus min, divide by numbers of classes. And this is one of the questions that we asked the last time. How do we know what number should we divide by? I'm going to count the rows that I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 rows. That is mean the number that I'm going to divide by is 7. Sometimes that you just count from the table. Sometimes in the instruction, they will tell you, I want 7 classes. I want 5 classes. That is the part, okay? The maximum is how I know the maximum. I'm going back to my list, the entire data. I'm looking for the biggest values. So in this case, the biggest values would be, so let's see, I saw 80, that's high. But I also see something else. So 80 is not the highest number. It's 86 is the highest, right? Thank you, Francisco. So 86 minus the lowest value, which is, there's 7. It doesn't matter. I just need, the lowest is 7. That's all I need to know. So minus 7. So I will have 86 minus 7. Give you 79, divide by 7. That would give you 11.285. Now, when you divide the class width, remember, because we have to take the lower limit at plus the upper limit, we don't want to deal with decimal. I want a whole number. So I'm going to round this to what values? I have 11.285. So I'm going to round it up or down, depending on the decimals. In this case, yes, Francisco, I will round down to 11. If I have like 11.5, if the decimal is 5 or higher, then I will round up. If it's less than 5, then I will round down. So that will be 11. I'm going to use that. I will use that to construct the class. So step number one, I'm find the class width. I'm going to ask you to jot this down somewhere. Step one, write it down clearly. Step one, class width. Because when you take that summative, Ms. Hujra and I will not tell you what to do, right? You should have it. You should have that cheat sheet in front of you with a step. Question for us on class width. Yes, Rita, the first class is correct. All right, so step number one, we know that we're going to fill in the values for each class, right? We're going to start with the lower limit to the upper limit. So for each row, we're going to have those two numbers. I'm going to fill those out for all of these. So we have to figure out what values we need to start first. And Rita already shared the lowest. We're going to start with the lowest number, which is 1. I'm sorry, not 1. I'm sorry, 7. That's good. We start with the lowest number. And then to get to the next one, to get to this is my lower limit, this is my upper, right? There is a reason I spent the last 2 minutes to figure out the class width because I need to use it. There's no reason for us to find number 11 and kind of like toss it out and not do anything with it. That's a waste of time, right? So you add the class width, yes. So 7 plus 11 get me 18. So that's what Rita gave me earlier. And so is Francisco, yes. Okay, so the first class is 7 through 18. John, we okay? You got it? Okay. The next one, we're gonna move to the next class. I'm hoping we have somebody else besides Francisco. You're doing a great job. I really appreciate it. But I want to hear from more of you, like tell us so we know. I'm gonna move on to my next class, and you can think of this as like a Z. I'm gonna start over here, go in this direction, go this direction, like go in that. So I have 18. My next number gonna be one more, which is gonna be 19. And then to get to the upper limit, if I start from the lower limit to get to upper limit, I will plus 11. So 19 plus 11 give me 30. Yes, perfect. And then we keep doing the same thing. There's a pattern. So the next one gonna be, why don't you tell me the next one as well? 43, you mean?
43, sorry.
Perfect. So that's what I would do to get to the next one. So I start at 54, one more, which is 55, plus 11 give me 66. So 67 plus 11 give me 78, 79 plus 11, 90. Okay. All right, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna wait for you to copy this down on a piece of paper if that is easier for you, or you need to copy and pad, because then you can save the work. That is fine. But I think it's best if you have on a paper that you can always go back and check your work. So I'll wait. Go ahead and copy that down. You could. It just, whatever that make it easier for you to go back and look at your notes. Like the next time when we do this, you should have your notes, like you can find it right away. With pictures, sometimes you have so many pictures, it's kind of hard to go back and see where that is. Unless you have an album for it. I mean, somehow, some way if you can organize your notes, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. One, is that a program or something that helped you to organize your photo? Or I don't know. Okay, so the last time, that's where we stopped. Oh, you just said it for fun. Okay, I thought there's actually an apps that help us to organize our photos. Then I would love to know about it. All right, so that's where we stopped for the last class. And then today we're going to start with tally and frequency, which I think is not difficult, but for the tally, it's going to be a bit tedious. It's probably at some point like, that's annoying. Miss Wynn is just keep doing the same thing. So I apologize ahead of time. It's going to be a little bit annoying for you to find the tally, but it's not difficult. Okay, so I'm going to clear the class width because I need this space. There's a lot of numbers for us to count, so bear with me. So we're going to start. All right, I'm going to start with this first number. What we're going to do is we're going to count, so you see how many numbers fall into each class. Okay, so with the list of data, we're going to count how many numbers fall into each class. So let's start with the first number, 50. If I look at 50 and I'm looking at the class is the interval. I'm going to see 50 fall into which class. That's the goal. So you can think, I'm going to label this one class number 1, class 2, class 3, class So for each class is class number 1, class number 2, class number 3, class number 4, class number 5, class number 7, class number 6, class number 7. So you have 7 of these. Let me write that down. Class 1, class 2, class 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's look at 50, right? If 50 is fall between what values? And that is the class that I'm looking at. So 50 is going to be between 43 and 54 because number 50 is in between those. So that would belong to class number 4. So I'm going to count. So what I do is 1 tally mark for that class. I'm going to cross that out so that way I'm not going back and count the same number again. Yes, Francisco is class number 4. And then we do move on for the next number. Do you go horizontally or vertically? It doesn't matter. It's up to you. I can do the next one, which is 41. Now, can you guys tell me which class it belongs to if it's 41? Put in the chat. What class would that be? Or unmute and share with us. Okay. 3. 3. Okay. Yeah, it's belonging to class 3 because that is 41. It's between 31 and 42. So class 3. I will move on to the next number, which is 18. Again, ask yourself, 18s belong to which class? It's fall between which number and which number? So 18 is class number 1. Okay. Cool. I'm just highlight this because I realize it's hard to see, right? So that's what we're going to do for the rest of these numbers. Would you make mistake? Would you miscount something? For sure. I do that all the time. But on the summative, if you miscount and you make a mistake, it's okay. How you get the tally? I'm just count. So if you look at the first number, I'm going to erase this one. Okay. So let's go back to these 3 tally. I'm going to start with this 50. I'm looking at 50, right? 50, and then I look for each class. 50 is fall between 43 and 51. So I'm counting there is 1 number for this class, which is 50. So I count as 1 tally. I'm not copied out the number. I'm just count like there's 1 number belong to this class. And then I move on to the next number, which is 41. I'm looking 41 is between 31 and 42. So I'm counting that's 1 more. And then I'm looking at 18. It's between 7 and 18. So I'm counting that's 1 number belong to this class. So I'm counting how many number for each class. That's what I do with a tally. So Allie, is that help or is not? Let me know. Let's do the next number, 40. Okay. So for number 40, I'm looking over here. 40 should be between 31 and 42. So I'm going to make another tally right here. Right? Because 40, look over here, is class number 4, which is between here. Then I can do 78. I'm looking here, 78 is which class? When I say class, I'm looking at it's fall in between the low and the high number belong to which interval. So this is going to be right here. Yes, class 6. Then I can do 29, class number 2. So what I'm doing right now is if you can do this along with me, if you go to PEDX and just kind of fill that out, or you have that table on the piece of paper, do it. Follow along with me. I know it's kind of like, that's silly, Miss Wynn, I don't want to do it. Just do it, please. It would help you. The practice make it better, okay? So 41. I'm just simply doing this. I'm not going to call out every number, but if you can follow, I'm up to then 34, 17, class 1, 72, class 6, 59, class number 5, 11, class 1, 56, class 5, On the summative, I'm not going to give you this many numbers. Don't worry, just a practice, because I often have a lot of students like, how do I do the tally? So I'm hoping with enough numbers that would help you to remember what to do with the tally. Okay, so 73 class 6, 7 class 1, 17 class 1. So every 5, I can cross that out. So that would help me. 17, and then we'll do 77, class 6, 22. 22 is class 2, 7 class 1, 36. If you need me to re-explain something, just put it in the chat. Then I know. 69, 39 belong to class 3, 28, class 2, 30, class 2, and then another 30. Okay. Then 21. 21, that should be class 2. I know, it's take a while. Bear with me. Class 7. 62, class 5. 19, class 2. 56, that is class 5. 54, class 5 again. 23, class 2. 29, class 2. 67, class 6. 37. Like I said, for your summative, the number is not going to be that many numbers. But for practice, I want to use that many numbers just so that you have enough practice. 51, 46, almost. 31, class 3 again. 54, class 4. 31, class 3. 53, class 4. 42, class 3. 39, 44, 86 is class 7, and 20, class 2. Whew, done. Okay. Question on the tally on the second column. The last column, the frequency, is the easiest one. Okay? I really mean it, the easiest one. What you do for the frequency is you're going to count how many tally that you have, and that will be your frequency. So 5, 6. That's the frequency for the first class. The frequency for the second one is what? So frequency is just a tally, how many tally for each class, and that is a frequency. So if you look at the second class, and look over here, look at the tally, it's going to be 10. Okay. All right, I'm going to ask you guys to help me out with the rest of the class. What will be the frequency for my third class? Can someone share that with us? 14. Okay, then we move on, which is 6. Good. 6 again. 6 again. And then the last class is 2. Good. So that's the frequency. So the hardest column is the first column. The tedious one is a tally, because you have to count. Yes, Allie, that is right. So the second column is the one that you have is tedious, because you have to count the numbers and make the tally marked. The last column is the easiest one, because you just count the tally and get that number. Okay. Right, that is the best part. Once you've done like, yes, that's all I need to do, just count the number. All right, before we move on, I'm gonna ask you guys to ask me questions like, do we feel like we want to do another example with this one, or use like, no, I'm good? Because I think for the tally and the frequency is okay. Which part that we want to go over? Do you want to go over the class columns, or do you want to go over the tally or the frequency columns? Let me know how you want to review this. Or you okay? I'm like, I think I got it. Let's move on. Let me know.
Now's the time to ask, guys. So, because we don't want you to not understand, then we move on and then you're even more confused.
Great.
Make sure you're taking notes too, especially when we introduce a new concept. Make sure you're taking notes.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right. So I'm gonna close this. All right. So if you don't have question right now, because you may or may not know what is your question until you actually do the work. So there will be one practice on the frequency table, which I will tell you that practice later. But again, let us know if we need to split up the class, then we do so. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna move to the next thing that I want to cover with you, go over with you, is a frequency histogram. And then next time when we see each other, we're going to talk about cumulative frequency. But for now, that's where we stopped. We're going to look at the graph for today, frequency histogram. Okay. So last call, the one who responded to me said, nope, I'm good. So I'm going to move forward. But when I ask you to do practice, maybe you can ask me more questions later, hopefully. Okay. All right, graph, frequency distribution, a frequency histogram. You actually created this earlier when you do that project. Remember the one that you did the survey? And I asked you to use a Google slide, and then you type in your table, and then it spit out the bar graph. That is really close to frequency histogram. Frequency histogram is a bar graph. The horizontal scale is represent, so think about the frequency table. You have the class, and then you have the frequency, okay? The horizontal is represent the class, and the vertical scale represent the frequency. The bars, they must be consecutive. That is mean no space between the bars. It's going to be right next with each other. So we did it before, but the computer did it for you. Right now, we can have a table, and you will construct a frequency histogram based on the table it's given to you. Okay, so frequency is the bar graph. The class column represented by the horizontal. Horizontal is this one going across. Vertical is the one that go up and down. Okay, and then we're going to construct something like this, like a bar graph, but no space in between. So that's the example of a frequency histogram. It makes more sense when we do practice, and then you can go back and ask me questions. All right, so let's look at the table. So let's say I have this table, and I want to construct a frequency histogram. So remember, I'm not going to worry about the tally, because the tally and the frequency is saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing, nothing different. So the classes represent the horizontal, or the x-axis, and the frequency represent the vertical, which is represent the y-axis. So I'm going to construct the frequency histogram. So I'm going to draw this. So go ahead and jot this down on paper if you can. So it's like the first quadrant, you have the x-axis and the y-axis. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. And we know the y-axis represent the frequency. So I'm going to label this one as the frequency. The bottom is represent the class. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm looking at the class. I'm going to highlight this one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 class total. That is mean I'm going to have 6 tick mark right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each tick mark represent a class. So the first one is 20 to 30. So I'm just going to label the class. Yes, that will be a bar graph. This will be a bar graph, yes. So it's going to be 20 to 30, which is my first one. Then my next class is going to be 30 to 40. One of the questions that I got from my student was, I missed one. Look at the number, I got 30, and then the second class start with 30 again. Is that okay? Yes, that is okay. And I told you some textbook will do it. But for us, we want to increase one more just so that make it easy for you to do the tally mark. What if you run into 30? You don't want to count it twice. So I'm going to label 30. Then the third one will be my third class, which is 40 to 50. And then my next class is 50 to 60. Right here. It's just in case you wonder where I got the numbers from here. And then I got 60 to 70. And the last class, which is 70 to 80. So I just label my x-axis. Question for me so far. Right now we just kind of transfer the information from the table over to the bar graph. How we feel about this so far? Okay. All right, for the frequency is this column will be the numbers I'm going to use to put on my y-axis. The classes is easy because it's split it up. The scale is already given to you. I'm just using what I see from the table. But look over here, you see from 5 to 8, and then 8 to 9, and then 9 to 10, the number is not very consistent. The difference between each class is not consistent. So I have to come up with a scale. So I'm look over here. I have my lowest is 2. The highest is 10. I want to think of the scale that makes sense for me. So here's the option. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if you have enough space. Or we learn how to graph this as freshman year. You can use the scale. It can increase by 2, by 3, by 5. But since this number is small, I don't want to increase by 5. So I think the best scale that I can use, we totally can go up by 1. We can go up by 1. If you have enough space, we can do it. But for me, I'm thinking I can do by 2. Yes, you can go up by 1, not a problem. I like to increase by 2 so that I have more space. It's easier for me to write the number. But if you want to use the scale of 1, that is okay too. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do now is that we're going to graph the function. So I make the scale. Question for me on how to make the scale for the x-axis and y-axis. We're going to finalize this one. I'm going to finish up this graph. Okay, so I'm going to use a frequency. So look over here. My first class is 5. So I'm going to draw the bar graph. 5 is between 6 and 4, so it's going to be this. So this is my first class. This is my first bar at 5. Do you have to fill in the column? No, but I like coloring things. If you had me last year, if I taught you before, you know I just like to use highlighter. I just like colors things, so don't mind me. All you need to do is draw the bar, and that's fine. You don't have to fill it in. Just my personal preference. Question for the first class, the first bar. Okay, and do the next one, which is 8, right? And use a different color. So let's start at 8, and that's my second. Keep in mind there's no space between each bar. They're going to be right next to each other. So that is class 2. Class 3 is 9, so it's somewhere a little bit higher than 8. And then I can highlight that. So that's class number 3. Okay. And then I can do the next one, which is 10. 10 is all the way up here. It's okay if it's a little bit higher or lower. I'm okay. I'm not going to be that picky because it's really hard to do the exact. And then I can do the next one, which is 6. Whoops, I like blue. Let's do blue. 6 right here. Hold on. 6 is right here. So it's close enough, and that is fine. Like I said, for those I miss when I don't like to color things, can I not do it? For sure. If it's 2, you can do this bar graph like this. That's fine. You don't have to fill in the bar. So this is the frequency histogram. What you do is you represent the same thing, but instead of using a table, we use a graph. It's saying the same thing. It's saying that the first class, 20 to 30, I have 5 students. The second class, 30 to 40, I have 8 students. And then the third one is 40 to 50, I have 10. It's saying the same thing. Now, that is the advantage of the table versus the advantage of the graph. The graph sometimes is hard for us to tell the exact frequency because the number may not be exact. It's hard for us. So if you want to know the exact number, the table is a better choice for you to look at. But the graph gives you a visual of which class is the highest, like kind of give you an idea of which class has the most student doing certain thing. So the graph gives you a better visual of the highest class or the low and give you a better idea of what you should focus on. So this is a frequency histogram. Questions for me? This is not bad. Yes, the frequency histogram is not bad. I like it. Yeah, I just like to fill in the bar. You don't have to. Okay. All right. One more example, just to be sure. Okay. All right, so let's do one more. For this one, I'm gonna go over this a little bit faster. So I'm not looking at the tally. I look at the class interval and the frequency. So this is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. Okay. So I'm gonna draw my graph. Okay. So on the second one, I have the frequency. I can label frequency. This is the class. Okay. How many tick marks should I do for my x-axis? I'm going to turn on the student pace. If you need to go back to the previous slide to copy, you may. So if you're not done and you want to go back to the slide 18, the one we just did, you can totally do that. But I'm just going to do the next example. Okay. 6, good. We should have 6 classes because if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I can label the numbers 0 to 39, 40 to 79, 80 to 119. This one is 120 to 159, 160 to 199, and the last one is 200 to 239. Okay. And I'll look over here. I have 1 through 12. If you want to, we can do 1 through 12, 1, 2, 3. But I think, again, I can use a scale of 2. I think it's what worked out. 8, 10, and 12. Okay. So now what I can do is I'm going to go back and look at each frequency. So for the first class is 1. So it's between. So this is for the one who don't like to bubble in the bar. You can just draw that bar. And then for the second class is 5. So it's between 4 and 6. So you can draw that bar. Then you can do the next one, which is 12. It's all the way up here. There's my third class. And then I can do 8 right here. Then 4 right here. And then 1. So you can make your bar graph that simple, or you want to bubble in because you like to color like me, then you can do that. But that's the frequency histogram. Question for us.
I feel like I need to have a sound of like crickets just ready to go. So whenever the teacher asks their questions,
Let's record that and we can play it next time. I like that idea.
questions?
Questions?
Thank you for talking. So at least you know everyone's alive over there. I appreciate that, Dominique. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think everybody just wants spring break. That's what I think.
Almost. We're almost there. Almost there.
We're almost there, guys. A couple more days.
Okay, so this is what your exercise slips. I'm going to tell you the slide, and you're going to do it. You can do on a piece of paper, email it to me if that's easier, or just go ahead and do a pad act. Yeah, totally.
You guys will be like, oh, I'm going to do it on paper. And then we never see it. And then we can't give you credit.
Okay, so I want you to go to this frequency table. So here's the thing. Silly me, I copied the same table on the next slide. So that's the problem. So what I need you to do, all of you, I'm going to share with you the table. I'm going to share that. You may not see it, so you want to, it's my fault. I copied the same. So the next slide is supposed to be your exercise slip, but I copied the exact same table that we just used. So I'm going to ask you to use the table in slide 4. I already turned it to student pace. So can you do me a favor? Move back to slide 4. All the way to slide 4. There is a table. That is the table that I want you to use, and I want you to construct the frequency histogram. So we're not going to look at lower class limit. We're not going to worry about those. I just want you to construct the frequency histogram using this table. It's my fault. I cut and copy, and then I put the same thing for the next slide. So anyone clear on which slide that you're going to look at? Go to slide 4. Because right now it's student pay, so I cannot move that. So go to slide 4. Use that table. Okay, use that table. I'm going to ask you to do it in a piece of paper right now. I'm just ask you to do it in a piece of paper and email it to me. So email it to me. I messed up. Because just do it in a paper and email that to me. That make it, yeah, I'm sorry. Because I make the slide and then I just use the same table again, which, sorry. Okay, so slide 4, do it on a piece of paper, create the frequency histogram, and then email it to me. I'm going to put the instruction in the chat, just in case you got confused. Okay, so go to slide 4, use that table to create the frequency histogram, which is the bar graph. Then email me your work. And then I will enter that grade in tomorrow, okay? We have a couple minutes, 5 minutes, so I think that you should be able to finish before class over. So do it, be done with it, and then you don't have to worry about not doing it for the next and miss that grade. So do it now. I think it's the best.
Yeah, definitely start working, especially if you have questions too. So we can answer.
Also, do me a favor. I'm gonna put in the poll where you can, I'm gonna ask if you guys can tell me, do we need to review the frequency table, like to construct the, I'll make the poll, give me 1 second. Let me know so that I can plan for next class, right? I'll make that question in a minute.